Alright, hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the potential for some significant severe weather today that is ongoing as we speak across portions of uh, the Great Lakes. And as we jump over here, we're going to quickly take a look at the Grand Rapids radar in Michigan. We can see there is a well-organized Boeing, not really Boeing segment, but more broken line of storms from parts of more northern Michigan up down to about the Great Lakes. We have more stuff initiating over the Great Lakes as we speak, and northern Indiana that will slide off to the east. Current recording time is 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here we go. We have a severe watch that wasn't issued too long ago. Severe hail will be the main threat, with some hail up to 2.5 inches in diameter likely. Also could see some scattered damaging wind gusts and a tornado or two. Probabilities on this watch, we have a 25 probability for tornadoes, 60-20 for wind, 70-60 for hail. Looking on to, we could see a severe watch across portions of Tennessee, Kentucky, and southeast Missouri over the next few hours as a complex of storms rides this outflow boundary type thing. We could see a tornado or two, large hail, and damaging wind gusts. Here's a look at what the Storm Prediction Center outlook is for today. We have a large slight risk from the coastlines of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina to the Canadian borders of Michigan and New York. We also have a different area of severe weather from the Tulsa area up to Cheyenne, Wyoming, with a maximum enhanced risk across portions of Colorado, Kansas, and Oklahoma. What we could see there, we have a chance for a couple tornadoes. I generally think the highest tornado threat's going to be in that Colorado 5% rather than this Michigan 5% here. But there will be the chance for a couple tornadoes within these green and brown areas over the east central United States and then over in the plains as well. Significant damaging wind gusts is going to be the main threat in Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma Panhandle initially. Widespread damaging wind gusts are also possible across the Great Lakes. Very large hail will also be a threat for areas like Cheyenne, Denver, and Pueblo in the plains, and then for areas in the Great Lakes like Fort Wayne, Detroit, and Toledo. There will also be a chance for some lower end severe weather events tomorrow and on Saturday as well. Here's a look at the current mesoscale analysis, and as we can see here, we have a remnant MCV, which is generally co-located across portions of southeast Missouri, and this has sparked off some scattered storm development across the Tennessee Valley. And this will probably bring a flooding risk alongside the risk for a couple tornadoes and some damaging wind gusts. Looking at our shear profiles, we can see we have some pretty enlarged photographs across the remnant outflow boundary / MCV area there in the Tennessee area. Alongside that, there is a solid amount of 3 Cape and vorticity in this area that is developing. So this will bring an enhanced threat for a couple tornadoes across that area, which will be kind of interesting to see what happens. And there are a few severe warnings with this cluster of storms already, as I'm looking currently at the Fort Campbell, Kentucky radar, which is near Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Nothing really that looks tornadic at this time, but there are a lot of damaging wind gusts with those storms. So just something to keep in mind. Very extreme amounts of instability are in place, especially with this Tennessee cluster. But across the Midwest as well, there is a widespread area of 4,000 Cape from in eastern Illinois and western Indiana. Now note this data is about an hour old, so it probably will change. 5,000 Cape in Tennessee with widespread values of 4,000. Excuse me. Yeah, here's what the HRRR's take is. it's suggesting that we're going to have some storms start to fire in Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan very soon, even though there's already an ongoing cluster. And then we're expecting this to kind of slide to the southeast. I actually think the model that's probably the right the right here is the NAM 3 kilometer with its evolution, as at 17Z, which is the time we're at right now, it's pretty similar to the actual radar picture that's ongoing. We have a broken line of storms in Michigan, and we have some scattered convection over Indiana and Illinois, not yet organized. As we get toward 1 p.m., we can see this convection over Illinois and Indiana really starts to pick up and organize, and also there's multiple other broken clusters in Michigan. So 18Z is when the storms probably will start to run into that very unstable air across Illinois and Indiana. And if we take a box sounding here, we can see significant hail will be the main threat. As you can see, your hodograph is rather long and straight there with rather extreme thermodynamics as well, with CAPE upwards of 5,000 joules per kilogram and 4,000 in the mixed layer. Looking into Michigan, there will be a bigger tornado threat there. You have a little bit more curved low-level hodographs, but again, you're still going to be dealing with rather straight hodographs in the mid to upper levels, which is going to impede on a hail threat, alongside some moderate to strong instability values around 3,000 joules per kilogram mixed layer. It seems like right around 2 p.m. is when stuff's really going to start to explode, and there's a couple areas with a little bit more curved hodographs across portions of southeast Michigan, which may be why the SPC did go 5% tornado in Michigan, is because they realized the NAM 3 kilometer evolution was probably going to be the closest evolution for today. So if that's correct, we're going to start to see this area on satellite really start to explode, and currently the CU field that it projects really starting to explode is this general area here, and it really is starting to explode. We have a storm exploding here in Indiana, and we also have one in Illinois. It's also projecting that this CU field starts to go too, and it's becoming more agitated alongside this stuff. So we probably will see development very soon. I'll go to the sub-regional sector here to kind of give a better look at that. Looking again at the instability, it's going to be it's definitely increasing. I don't know what College of DuPage uses for instability, but you can see there's a lot of areas with pretty strong instability. This is probably where the general front is, so we're going to have a couple areas of convection try to initiate across Illinois and Indiana very soon. We'll go back to mesoscale analysis and look at our surface observations, and we can see that in Illinois we've had temperatures that have warmed up into the or really low to mid 80s, with dew points in the low to mid 70s. Very moist and muggy atmosphere. Further south across the Tennessee Valley, we have temperatures in the mid 80s and dew points in the mid 70s to upper 70s, with temperatures around 90 degrees even in some spots. Looking at 500 millibar, we can see there is a clear-cut area of flow. We have a shortwave that's generally located here with a 50 knot speed max over northern Illinois, and then we have that general MCV that's located across kind of the southeast Missouri area, which is co-located with an area of 40 knots of middle level flow across kind of the Tennessee River Valley region. Alright, and as we can see here, the mesoscale analysis page might update as we are recording this. I think the surface-based CAPE probably did update. Yeah, it did, and we have a corridor of a 4,500 joules per kilogram of surface-based CAPE across Illinois and Indiana, with a couple other areas of 4,000 joules per kilogram across Michigan, Ohio, and into Indiana and Illinois. So any storm that really starts to pop off from central Illinois into this Indiana region is really going to pop off. And quite quickly at that as well. Looking into the 850 millibar winds, really the only stronger pocket is in southeast Michigan, where they have, the higher tornado threat. And here's a new satellite update, and as we can see here, looks like those storms in central Illinois there are forming along that area of higher instability, so that's probably where we'll see some stuff start to explode in the very short term. Looking into the risk out west in Colorado, um, storms are likely going to fire very soon. They're going to fire off the mountain ranges out there, and they probably are already starting to fire. We'll see if the Storm Prediction Center has any updates with mesoscale discussions. And they did just issue a severe thunderstorm watch in Kentucky and Tennessee. We'll see if I can get any details on that. Not at this time. But yeah, storms are likely going to fire across the Colorado Front Range very shortly. Storms that fire and will be discrete will have the main threat of tornadoes this afternoon. And we can see those storms that fire right here in the Denver area, or maybe that's south of Denver, probably not Pueblo, but Colorado Springs. We'll have a threat for very large hail initially, given this rather straight photograph in the mid-levels here, and also have a tornado threat because there is some curvature there. And storms will have to deviate southeastward to really acquire that, because initial motions will be having them go northeast, but once they turn right, there will be potential for some tornadoes with these. As we move on to 20 Zulu time, we can see that storm is really starting to pick up some strength, and not too surprising. Now, one limiting factor that the name of 3 kilometer portrays is that we will have a bit of a surface, or not inversion, bit of some surface stabilization there around 700 to 850 millibars, which could preclude tornado genesis at first, and really is kind of making the 3K be lower. Now, RAP mesoscale analysis shows the same general thing happening as well. As we do generate a few hours, 6 hours ahead, though, we can see southeast Wyoming and portions of east central Colorado really start to see the tornado threat kind of increase. So we'll see if that actually ends up happening. Looking into this, you can see more widespread storm initiation occurs around 21Z, taking a box sounding up really just ahead of this initiation. And we can see the environment on a large scale is rather favorable for tornadoes in this large area. We have a lot of streamwise vorticity in the low levels of this photograph here, and we can also see it's pretty enlarged with effective inflow storm relativity of 250, which is pretty solid. And we can see that curvature there as well. The thermodynamic profile is also a bit more compelling than the ones earlier because of your 700 millibar inversion being weaker. Dew points are going to be pretty high too, in the middle 60s across the board. Some areas could have a little bit higher dew points. 3K projects upper 60s in some areas, which is seems pretty reasonable. So we'll see if that occurs. But eventually, upscale growth into a MCS or multiple MCSs appears likely. As we can see, the M3K has one over Kansas, which will be favorable for producing significant wind gusts because of the more drier surface air. Alongside that, you have some rather strong 0 to 3 kilometer SRH, which will help out in this situation, and deep layer shear of 60 knots, which is always a thing that'll help out. We can see here the NAM 3 kilometer develops really 2 MCSs, although these front MCSs will have a higher chance of producing more significant wind gusts. The environment is very strong as well. We'll look at the Lincoln, Illinois radar before, or actually, we're going to look at the Hopkinsville, Kentucky radar before we go, as we could have tornado genesis on our hands here. And rather quickly at that, just northwest of Guthrie, Kentucky, there, a rather strong circulation starting to appear. Even if this is not on the ground, winds of probably 80 plus mile per hour are likely. Might have a small CC drop to north of Guthrie now as well. We can see there's multiple different areas of circulation alongside this Boeing segment that is currently near Guthrie, Kentucky, and down toward Clarksville, Tennessee. Multiple different circulations alongside it. Looking in the upper levels, you can see these circulations are decently strong, and this is co-located with that mesoscale vortex. Looks like this was the circulation here. Looks like that has moved off over here, so we're going to get that new velocity scan soon as well. And then looking into Illinois, just looking to see if there's any storms that have really started to pop off here. We do have that severe warning in Indiana now. Doesn't really seem like it. We have one that's struggling near Tuscola, Illinois, and not much else, but there is these reflectivity returns north of the Peoria metro that could start to get going eventually. And then we do see that storm in northern Indiana near Logansport. And it's not really much of anything to note at this time. More of a large hail threat. But it is starting to explode, so we'll have to see what happens. Thanks for watching this, and we'll see you in the next one.